Welcome back to the 10-Minute Professional, the podcast designed to help you navigate the political landscape of corporate America while maintaining your sanity and hopefully not becoming a soulless monster. My name is Gabe, I am your host, and I believe personal and professional development needs to happen around the clock. Time is money, and money is needed for life, so let's not waste any time and get to work so we can get back to focusing on our lives. Every human being has their own approach to problem solving, their own communication style, as well as their own predilections and experiences. In an office environment, I've seen people at various levels of the corporate hierarchy provide anecdotal experience from a quote-unquote previous life, as well as their own feelings or beliefs as justification for business decisions. While I believe experience is the foundation of confidence, I've also seen people be overconfident to the point of arrogance when it comes to relying on previous experience, as opposed to gathering all relevant information and data from their current circumstance. I believe complacency and stagnation are the enemy of both personal and professional growth. I mention this because the next thing I'm about to say is a bit of a blanket statement, which has caveats. However, if someone is going back to the same playbook they've used 1,000 times, regardless of circumstance, that's not leadership, progress, or creativity. That's ignoring context and circumstance, which is, in my eyes, nothing more than lazy. In every corporate environment I have been a part of, I've seen people from the outside brought in and labeled as disruptors or innovators or so efficient or data-driven. And in every single one of those instances, I saw these innovators rephrase the trite "do more with less" jargon while cutting people, offering no strategic guidance or any sort of solution, whether it's tactical or strategic. Essentially, they recited the same churn and burn playbook that is a classic for a reason, but also destroys culture and turns your organization into a cold corporate monolith. I understand the desire to come in and shake things up, because that is typically needed. However, a crucial step I see people overlook is learning the ins and outs of the business, of course, at a high level. Learning the business at a high level is a crucial step for a multitude of reasons, such as being able to forecast efficiently, learning where the logjams are, understanding the current structure and processes. You get it. If you want to innovate, you need to understand the current state. However, we also need to avail ourselves of any preconceived notions. While it's natural to want to trust your gut and assume you're seeing the same scenario play out right before your eyes, that suspicion is something you keep in your back pocket. All the while, you continue to evaluate and accumulate data. You read the metaphorical room and you get more insight. Jumping to conclusions is something which happens when we do not check our personal bias. The bias I'm referring to are the ones we've built throughout the course of our experiences. The kind of bias which makes a flag or bell go off in the back of your head and think, I've seen this before. It's highly likely you've seen a very similar situation play out before. I don't care if you're referring to a client technical issue, a supply chain problem, being out of communal coffee, or a corporate restructuring facilitated by the installation of a new executive leadership team. Odds are, it's happened before, and there's a fair chance you've encountered a similar circumstance at some point. However, the misstep I see made time and time again by those confident and experienced people is getting a cursory read on a situation and then jumping to a conclusion based solely on previous experience. A favorite saying of mine, I use all the time, is borrowed from Eric Bischoff, and the phrase is, "Context is king." And that's true, regardless if we're discussing business decisions or where we are at mentally when a specific action was taken. I believe the key to checking our personal bias, or phrased another way, developing as much objectivity as possible, is ensuring decisions are based upon data, facts, tangible statistics, and things of that nature as much as possible. Conclusions should be based on a combination of current context and circumstances, the amount of personal and/or technical lift, an evaluation of current resources and capabilities with conclusions drawn from relevant metrics or data. While all of that sounds very standard and simple enough, A way to reduce it to the base level is having one specific question at the forefront of your mind at all times. What is this decision or conclusion based on? A variation of that inquiry is the most common thing I say whenever I've been in any strategic planning or brainstorming session. If someone can't answer that question directly, to me that indicates they are either lacking a clear vision or they are straight up just guessing and trying to spin it as being quote-unquote creative or innovative. I say that, and my goal is not to downplay the amount of experimentation or creativity needed when building something new or from scratch or brainstorming. Some amount of trial and error is to be expected, and sometimes you just take a shot in the dark. That is completely fine, and depending upon the issue, may be your best course of action, especially when you're experimenting with processes or tactical operations which can be piloted. However, the difference between an educated guess and a shot in the dark is an educated guess is based on data or a foundational knowledge of the current state of affairs, resource, capability, and things of that nature. When it comes to checking our bias, we need something tangible to point to when the question is raised, what is this based on? No human can be completely objective. It's not in our DNA. However, when it comes to checking our predilections, it's important to ensure any conclusions we reach follow a logical sequence of events and data points. There is no value in voicing our quote-unquote gut feelings if they aren't based on anything tangible, or if a circumstance just feels similar to a specific one that you encountered before. You need to have something more tangible than feelings to stand on, and it behooves us in our professional endeavors to ensure those we need to collaborate with do the same. I want people standing on business and not feelings. I look forward to our next discussion, and I hope you stay happy, healthy, positive, and above all,